Rory, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
No, thank you very much for having me on, mate. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely, man. Before we get you to share your incredible backstory, why don't you share, Rory, something about yourself that most people do not know?
Oof, that is a tough question to start with. That
Let's
caught me
go,
off
my
guard there. That caught me off guard there.
man.
Um, a fascinating fact about myself. I'm quite an original person. I can't think of anything too spectacular. Maybe the one thing that could be crazy, which people will realize towards the end of the podcast, is that I only started learning how to cook 2 years ago. So that could be a big one.
Oh man, you look like the absolute pro now. You've got a cookbook and all. You're a fast learner, Rory. You're a fast learner. That's awesome. So Rory, why don't you actually? I'll start out with a bit of an easier question. So let's just share a bit about yourself, Rory. I mean, you got scouted for Manchester United
Yeah,
at the age of 14, Rory. Is that correct?
that is correct. Yes. So I would say, I'll give you a bit of background about myself now. I'm 25 years old. I am from a small village called Ansborough, which is in County Down, up in the north side of Ireland. And I played professional football from 14 to 18 at Manchester United. I moved home for a year, played in the Northern Irish Premier League, and then moved to America for 3 years and completed a scholarship in America under a soccer program, which was an amazing opportunity as well. And now I am home. I am an online coach and slash footballer still a wee bit of football in me. I'm currently injured at the minute, but I was still playing in the Northern Irish Premier League again last year until I got injured. But yeah, so when I was growing up, football was the only thing for me. There was nothing else in the world that mattered to me. There was, even my nanny says I wasn't allowed to have a girlfriend, just nothing. They were all distractions. And when I had a beeline to go pro, that was in my head from the whole time. I got picked up at, I think it was 9 years old in Lisburn for Man United Academy over in Northern Ireland. It was just once a week. It was just a development sort of training scheme, which I really, really enjoyed. And then I was going there every week for, I'd say, 3 or 4 years. And then it started taking me over to England with a scout to do trials because I was sort of excelling above the other boys in that group. And then after about a year and a half of trial and just sort of midterm breaks between schools and stuff, I finally had one last trial and I smashed it, and I got offered a contract for 4 years over in Manchester United, which I grew up supporting from the day I was born. My dad had me in a Man United little onesie, so I had no choice from then. So amazing opportunity. That's a dream come true for me. I've lived my dream, which is crazy to say at 25 years of age, but that's what it is.
Childhood dream come true, Rory.
It's mental, absolutely mental.
Incredible. And tell us a bit about United, so Rory. So you age 14 to 18. So what year would this have been between, Rory?
This was, oh Jesus, I'm terrible with the dates. Basically, all I remember I had 2 years left after Sir Alex Ferguson left. So I think it was, if I'm 25 now, it was
Left
about
in 2013. So was it
yeah,
2011, 2015?
yeah, around that zone, I think it was. Yeah. So like, I'll talk a wee bit about, like, obviously we'll talk into the fitness side of things as well over there, because obviously you're going into one of the biggest clubs in the world. My main focus was, when I got my contract, was getting in shape, getting in the best shape possible. It's sort of unknown over there what it's like. Like, I went there for maybe 4 days maximum, so I never had a full routine. What was it like going over there? So my dad started helping me. I was lifting weights at 14, getting into shape. Didn't really have a clue what I was doing, but just running and lifting weights, probably bench pressing every day, trying to think it was the best thing to do. And then just going out for
bicep curls.
Yeah, bicep curls, crunches and pull-ups. That was all I used to do. And then we were going for runs like every single day. And I got in serious shape, football ability shape. And when I went over there, it was when the first 2 years wasn't too bad because I was 14 to 16. You're still young, you're still growing. So they didn't really have you doing too much like strength training or anything like that. It was just more, you'd do a wee bit of balance work, more cardio based stuff, and basically develop your football ability. You were doing so much football then. But it's when I broke into the youth team, 16 to 18 is when you start to treat you like a man, so to speak. You started doing the strength training, you started doing conditioning training. So we were training in terms of football 5 times a week with a match on a Saturday. And then we were doing strength training 4 times a week in the gym, which was crazy because it was such a new thing to you. So you just feel absolutely under the cosh. Body was in bits, but when I hit about 17, you're just used to it by then. It was just completely normal. And the thing with the strength training and stuff like that, it was nothing out of the ordinary. Like, people would look at it, maybe it's professional football, you do certain all these things that people don't know about. But the truth is about fitness, not all of it's pretty. it's pretty basic. And if you continuously do the right things to the right standard, you're going to improve in all aspects. So you just had your typical stuff, like obviously the bench press for your strength. We were doing that most mornings, and we've done our squats, some balance work on the, I forget what you call them. Do you know the half yoga balls? What do you call them things?
Also balls, are they?
Yeah, we were doing balance work
yeah.
on them and squatting on them, just like helping, like they're doing everything for ankle mobility, hip mobility. So
Sure.
basically get full body workouts in 3 to 4 times a week, and then obviously doing the hip mobility, balance mobility. So the change in lifestyle from obviously coming over at an amateur in Northern Ireland to bouncing over into professional football, into the big bad world, was quite crazy for me. And it took me about a year or so to actually adapt to it and understand what we were doing and why we were doing it.
So that's 9 total sessions. Or is that even 10 total sessions in the space of 7 days? Because you said 5 pitch plus a game plus 4 strength on top. Yeah. So talk about progressive overload versus just firing in there, man. Throwing straight into the deep end. So tell us, Rory, when you kind of got playing with United, then were there any kind of marquee names that a lot of people would know that you would have been in the same change room with, in the same dressing room with, played against, and so on?
Yes, so obviously the main one would be anybody who's following football now, Marcus Rashford. He's done amazing stuff outside of football as well, obviously with helping kids and homeless people, feeding them and stuff, which is amazing. And he always had that sort of mindset. He was always a really nice kid. But when I came into the academy, you sort of get a feel for like who's the best player and who's sort of like we got a bit of star power walking about the place, and it was always him. And he was quite young still. I think he's the year below me. So when we went into our second year, I was still playing ahead of him and stuff. And then he came in, and me and him were playing up front for my last season together.
Unbelievable, man.
Yeah, and they're like Scott McTominay, who's in midfield for Man United now. He was a really good mate. I still speak to him sometimes, not all the time, but I've still spoke to him the odd time and stuff through Instagram. You've got Dean Henderson, the goalkeeper, Axel Twanzebe. We had quite a star-studded team. It was a really, really good team. We had a good year on our last year. Unfortunately, we came second. I think it was the Middlesbrough, but we still had a really, really good season and a really good team.
Fantastic. And some personal highlights for you, Rory, with your time at United.
Yeah, loads. See, even this is what I always say, putting on that training jersey every day and seeing a Man United badge was just the ultimate thing. Like sometimes obviously it's normal, and when you're in a routine you don't think about it, and then sometimes you put it on, you sort of look at yourself in the mirror, and I was just like, wow, this is what everything I've worked for since I was 6 or 7, because I started playing football when I was obviously 4, but it wasn't that deep then. I was playing under 10s at 4 years old. Like I was the little tiny kid of the group, but I was probably the most wiry, starting the most fights, getting into everything. And I always had that sort of mindset that nobody's going to stop me getting to what I want to do.
I love it. Oh man, that's unbelievable. And tell me, so Sir Alex was there. So did you ever get to meet him? Did you ever have a conversation with him? Tell us about that, Rory.
Yes, so it was actually, he's the one that got my deal finalised. I played Chelsea in my last game, and my scout was there just watching, and he's a really good friend of Sir Alex. Unfortunately, my scout passed away the day before I moved to Manchester, which was a good 9-10 years ago. So absolute legend. He taught me the ropes with everything. He actually taught me how to kick with my right foot, because I'm predominantly left-footed and I never used it. And he told me one day, he goes, if you score a hat-trick with your right foot, I'll give you a tenner. And I remember he came up to watch me with my dad one day up in Lisburn, and I played, and I scored 2 with my right foot, and I went round the goalkeeper on my left, and I shifted it across to my right, kicked it in, and just at him. It's funny wee stories coming back to my head like that there. But Sir Alex Ferguson walked over to him and just says, who's the boy? I think it was number 10 that day. He's like, oh, that's my fella, Rory. He's like, we're going to sign him. So hearing that was after I found out the contract. So it's crazy to hear, like, one of the best managers ever to live, ever to breed the game, was happy to sign me into one of the biggest clubs ever. So it's always a nice wee thing like that. And then even around the cafeteria, around the canteen, all that stuff, he would say hello to everybody. I said this in a podcast I'd done before. Compared to the other managers it was in, he was the one that would say hello. He had basically good morals and treated everybody the same, no matter if it was a dinner lady, a bin man, or a player. He treated everyone as equals, which was an amazing thing. And you can tell it when you see him in his interviews, the way he carries himself. You can just tell he's a top bloke.
Unbelievable, man. That's incredible. And tell me, Rory, then, so like, what we'll just say, like, towards the senior end of your time at United, 17, 18, what would like a typical daily routine actually look like for you?
Yes, so we were in our last 2 years, we're still in college, so they put us through a full educational system as a backup plan, which is amazing. We only done 1.5 days, which was absolutely nothing. We just lounged about most of the time. But so I'll just go through. If we didn't have college on a Wednesday, we would be up at 7:30. A minibus picks us up, brings us into the training ground. We have breakfast, do a bit of strength training or conditioning, whatever, in the gym, and then we go train. Then we'll come in at about 11:30 or so, get lunch, chill about the change room for an hour and a half, play a bit of head tennis, just some light stuff. And then we will go into another session again at about 3. So once our food's settled and stuff, and then after that, we'll get showered, go home, and that's you for the day. Home for about 5:30, and you're just chilling the rest of the day.
Oh man, incredible. And you already kind of touched on it, so Rory, but let's actually talk about mindset. I think this is a really interesting aspect, because of course talent, like you of course have to be talented, like to play at that level at United. Talent, of course, is so important. But then how much I guess once you get there, Rory, what kind of ratio are we talking in terms of talent versus actually mindset?
Yeah.
What would you say,
So
Rory?
I would say there is a big shift in mindset as you get older. When I first went there, my first 2 years, it was just enjoying the process, living the dream. And then you realize towards my last 2 years, like, this isn't just going to be here forever if you don't work for it. So I would say for about half a year, I was ghosting in terms of just, I was enjoying it. I was just doing my training sessions, going home. I wasn't really getting too upset about it, too worked up if I had a bad day, which some would say would be healthy. But when you're wanting to make it in a professional sport, you have to be drilled to the absolute gills if you want to make it and nobody's stopping you. And I feel like I lost that way for maybe half a year, but it wasn't that detrimental because I picked myself back up. But you have to realize, as much as it is a team sport and you're growing up around Northern Ireland, it's all team. But when you're in a professional environment, you have to realize you love the boys, you appreciate them being there, you're good mates with them, but F them, like, they do not care about you. They're there to get themselves to the top, and you're there to get yourself to the top. So you're basically playing against each other, even though you're on the same team, which is a crazy thing to think about, because at the end of the day, in order to win games and win leagues, you have to be a good team, but you also have to be a good individual. And the mindset sort of shifted to me as I got older. I started realizing people cared less about what I actually cared about them in the team. And then that's when I started really pushing myself on and just thought to myself, this isn't going to be here forever. It's up to me. It's not up to anybody else. I can't blame anybody. If I don't make it, I can only blame myself for not pushing myself to the absolute maximum. So I always said to myself, if I was having a bad day, or if I always called my dad if I wasn't in the mood, if I got injured, because I had a lot of injuries, and he always just picked me up. He always said to me, just give it 100%. If it doesn't work, you will have no regrets. And that's the way you got to live anything in life. Just go 100% full tilt. You realize people don't actually think as much. Like, if you're overthinking of people's, like, oh, what's he think about me, or what's she think about me? People are quite selfish, like, not in a bad way, but people are generally always thinking about themselves, so they don't have time to think of other people. And realistically, if they are judging you and if they are trying to drag you down, they're not on your level anyway. You should never really take advice off or take criticism off somebody you wouldn't take advice from, in my eyes. So my 100%. Dad was my go-to man. My dad was my absolute rock when I was over there. My injuries, everything. He just had my mindset shifted within one phone call in 10 minutes, and that was me ready to go again.
Oh, man, that's incredible. I absolutely, like, as you said, don't take advice off someone you wouldn't swap places with. And some of it you got to take with a pinch of salt, because maybe some people actually might mean well. But as you said, in order for you to become a better athlete, better professional, you got to take care of yourself, care about yourself before you can kind of start caring about others. And tell me, Rory, then, like, because to get to that level, and even at Anthem, like, a high level in just, we'll say, bodybuilding, physique wise, even if you want to, like, grow your business, there is a level of, like, people talk about balance, but I'm sure your life was far from balance at the time between, would say, health, well, love, relationships. So tell me, like, what were some of the trade-offs? And we can just relate this to a lot of people in general. Like, what are some of the trade-offs if you really want to get to that next level?
Yeah. So I would say the one thing which I don't promote, which I sort of had then, was the all or nothing mindset. It was something, and the thing is, you have to realize with the all or nothing mindset, sometimes you got to have it. Like, in that athlete and that sort of environment, I had to have it. If you didn't have it, you weren't going to make it. Fair be it, I didn't make it, but I still had that mindset to push myself to 100%, where I have no regrets. But when it comes to, obviously, the way we're looking at it now from the fitness perspective and nutrition perspective, the all or nothing mindset is something which can sort of create a negative vibe. Because a great example is me. I had that all or nothing mindset. I didn't drink, I didn't eat much bad food, I didn't really do the things a young teenager would do. So when I came home from Manchester, I went absolutely mental. I started drinking, I started eating just everything, and I wasn't training the way I used to be. So my body wasn't used to all this. And I started piling on weight without even realizing, because I was just thinking I'm enjoying myself. And that's what it was. So I neglected everything and restricted everything for 4 years of my life. Whereas I just hit that point where I couldn't do it anymore. And once I did let go, it just went completely off the rails. Weight went up. I wouldn't say, like, I wasn't depressed. I wasn't anything like that. But I would say my mindset was so negative. Everything, I just hated everything. I didn't want to do anything. So it was it has sort of a negative domino effect with the all or nothing mindset. Whereas if I made it, then maybe it would have been still fine, because I still would have had it and I was still in football and things. But I just feel like with everything in life now, you have to find a nice balance suited to your lifestyle. If you work well with sort of the all or nothing mindset at about 90% perfection, 10% consistency, so be it. Do what you think's best for you. But for the majority of most people, you need to have a nice 50-50 balance. Obviously, with nutrition, you want to try and have an 80-20 balance. What's something I promote, where you have about 80% of your food intake, whole nutritious foods, good food, nutrients, micronutrients, macronutrients, make you feel good. And then still have that wee bit of, obviously, chocolate, crisps, ice cream, whatever you enjoy, fit it in. It gives you balance and sustainability. And no matter what your goals are, fat loss, maintaining muscle building, it's just going to make the process 10 times more enjoyable. And with enjoyment, it brings adherence. And if you're able to adhere to a diet plan, a training plan, it's just going to make life easier. And that's what it's all about.
And adherence is the number one. It is the number one most important thing, because, why would you follow a diet? Why would you do something you can't see yourself doing long term? Like, fair enough, in short intervals, it might work, but like, to get you, if you just begin with the end in mind, everything becomes so much easier. You have such like a clear pathway, and it's just easy to decide what to do, what not to do. And let's just kind of segue slightly, Rory, just on the training side of things there you spoke about. So at United, you were doing a lot of the single leg work, maybe the balance work, of course, some strength work. But I think you made a great point. Like, strength training, it's actually not that complicated. Get really, really good at doing about 10 to 15 different movements and just do those consistently. And if you keep practicing those consistently, you're going to see gains over time. And you might change them up slightly. For instance, a flat barbell bench press could be a decline. It could be an incline. You might add a pause there. Or a barbell row, it could be with dumbbells, it could be with barbell. But the exercise, the movement is the same. But we'll say training now, training would say in a professional environment, both in the States and of course with United. We'll call this performance training. Does your training like vary, kind of differ now slightly, Rory? Because I know you're doing a bit of a cut, for instance. Are there similarities, differences between what you would have done in the team environment versus your own individual approach now?
Yeah, big time. Everything we done back then is something I probably wouldn't even do too much now. See, the thing I will say a lot with footballers, with Gaelic players, hurley players, sometimes they will focus too much on what you can do in the gym. Oh, should I do this squat variation because it's going to help me jump higher? Should I do this such and such? The best thing you can do, obviously, you want to do that maybe 2-3 times a week in season and be smart about it. You want to look after your body. But if you want to get better at something, like you say, you got to be consistent with it. So if you want to get better at shooting for football, them squats aren't going to help you shoot better. Go out to the pitch, take 20 balls with you and shoot for an hour in an empty net. Practice the small things repetitively to make you better. And like you say, consistency is the most important thing, no matter what you do in life. So the one thing I would say with that there is people will over focus on what they're doing in the gym. And I'm not saying don't go to the gym, because don't get me wrong, I love the gym. I'm going at the minute 5 times a week, which is more than enough for anybody. Not many people need it. 2 to 3 times is perfect. But for what I want to do, I'm having a nice mix of upper body, lower body sessions. I'm doing something I really enjoy. Like, I spoke to my coach before I started, and I give him what I enjoy and what we done. And he based the whole training plan around what I'm enjoying and what's going to benefit me the most. Because at the end of the day, my goal is fat loss at the minute. It doesn't matter what I do in the gym. If I haven't got my nutrition in check, it's not going to work anyway. So do the small things right. So the nutrition is the most important thing for me when it comes to a fat loss phase. And then obviously that other sort of example I had with the football, doing the drill that you think is going to be most beneficial is better than the gym also.
Absolutely, man. I love that. I love that. And talk to me so about nutrition, Rory. So I guess, as you were saying, for those 4 years, everything is dialed into a T, training, nutrition, recovery, I'm sure, every single thing. And then when you're out of that environment, when you have that all or nothing mindset, when you say you can't have something, the first thing you want is you want to have that. So I can definitely relate and understand to how you mentioned maybe you went on a bit of a binge afterwards. But tell me now, like, so how has your diet kind of changed over the years, Roy? Like, you've a real kind of great, flexible kind of mindset there with nutrition. So talk to us a little about that, Rory.
Yeah, so obviously when I was over in Man United, it was frowned upon to have a Mars bar, which is absolutely crazy. Like, it was just clean. We went to the canteen, it was just pure chicken, good veg, good eggs, just all really good protein sources, which you generally need because as an athlete, when you're training that much, you need really good nutrients into your body to help you recover, help you prepare. But now that I'm looking at it, obviously I'm mainly a fat loss coach. I obviously help people build muscle as well and get a nice healthy mindset around nutrition. And the one thing I've learned, like I've done most of my learning in the last 2 years, so I'm quite fresh to the scene. It's not like I'm a mad experienced member of fitness and nutrition. I'm still learning every day and I love it. But the one thing I would say is when it comes to fat loss and when it comes to achieving your goals, there's been so much stuff. Like I don't want to I'm not going to just start degrading everything, but you've got the likes of Slimming World who's using certain free foods, like you're allowed to have a load of pasta. And one thing I just dislike about Slimming World is they don't give you any educational process on it all. Like I'm not completely hating against it, fair enough to anybody who's trying to help people get healthier, but they sort of have a hamster wheel approach where they tell people how to do it or give them the idea and the people do it, but they don't educate them. So when they're done, 100%. They put all the weight back on and it's like a hamster wheel where they come back round and then they're back at square one again. So the whole way I do it with all my clients, I is like, please ask me questions. Like if you have a question thinking anything at all, it's stupid, just ask me so I can educate you in this whole process. So once you're done with me, you can go on with your life and realize you've learned 100%. So many good topics. I seen James Smith said it the other day in a podcast. He's like, realistically, most online coaches should be like driving instructors where you shouldn't have them 6 months time because they should have taught you the ropes in that space of time where you're comfortable to go on your own. And I thought that was a really, really good point. Obviously not for some people because some people might be more heavier and might want to lose more weight throughout the year in a more balanced approach, which fair enough. And accountability, like I know what I'm doing personally, but I like having a coach for accountability. So exactly. On that aspect, it's wrong. But in the general idea of what he was saying, it was a really good point, I thought.
Like we always kind of say, people, they come for the results, but if they stay, it's just more so for the experience. If someone does leave, they have their own wings now, they're able to fly, they're able to do it on their own. And that is the best compliment you can really get as a coach, when someone says, you know what, I actually am in a position now where I'm able to go to the gym wherever I am, I'm able to train and do a good effective workout, I'm able to eat the foods that I enjoy, I'm able to categorize foods and understand, you know, what I need at this given time, and that's what we do. That's how we coach it. And I think you made a great point there too, Rory, like about diet, and you effectively kind of told like meal plans there, Rory. What are your thoughts on meal plans? Like, are you pro or are you anti meal plan approach?
So like I say, every time I sort of have a topic where it's quite controversial, I like to look at it from both perspectives. So I'm not just arrogant and just think my way is always right, because I'm not always right. Nobody's probably ever right 100% of the time. But what I like to say is with meal plans, I can definitely see why it can help people. It gives you the right food in front of you. You're reading off the sheet and you're like, yes, understand this, to understand the calorie content. But then once you're done with that, coach, what happens if you haven't been educating all them? So I feel like sometimes meal plans can be a short-term fix for a long-term problem where you didn't really understand the calories, the macronutrients, the micronutrients of the food content that was on that meal plan. You just sort of be like, right, I'm just eating this and going for it. Because I've been in that position before. I had a coach and they gave me a meal plan years ago and I loved it. I had everything that was on it. But then I went back to square one because I didn't actually understand why I done that. So with what I do with my clients, if I take someone on today, just say I will give them their calorie and their protein goal, and I will give them a meal plan designed around them goals. For an example, it says in the top of the sheet, do not eat this every day. This is to give you an example. And then I give them some swap outs for their meat. Just say I have chicken in the first meal, and then I put beside it alternatives, lean meat, turkey, whatever, just to give them ideas. And then within the next week or two, then hopefully I can delete that sheet from their folder so they can go on and they understand. So I always like to call it a trial week with my clients, where I get them to send the fitness pal over at the end of every night, so we can look at everything, see their favorite snacks, and then able to include them within their calorie and the protein goal. And it just, like I say, it just brings you that sustainability that you really need to achieve your goals.
I'm the exact same man. I like to give a blueprint because I
Yeah.
used to be a teacher, Rory, and the good old teacher's example where you put this up on the board and then everyone kind of does their own kind of take on it. So I do like to give a blueprint of what a sample week
Yeah.
might look like. But then I say,
Perfect.
as you were saying, you sub out the protein, or if you had a turkey burger and you wanted like a chicken fillet stir fry, or chili con carne versus like once you sub out the protein, you swap it with something else. It's really the
Yeah.
exact same thing. It's just a different food. And it's also important, man. Like 90% of diets are effectively probably the same. Like, I know there's ketogenic, there's paleo, a lot of these different methods. But if you understand the principles, and a lot of the principles are, protein at every single meal, it's probably a good idea to include some micronutrients in the form of veggies. I mean, in terms of hydration, it's always good to drink a bit of water. And
Yeah.
then we try to eat, mostly real foods, but we also include some of our favorite foods that we'll call processed foods.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like people are just kind of arguing then over the small details. But if you hit the big rocks, protein in every meal, veggies 1 or 2 times a day, mostly real foods, include foods you enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
It's 90% of what diets are promoting out there. It's the other 10% that slightly differs. So Rory, tell us then, because share something about yourself most people don't know. You mentioned 2 years only, you've
Yeah.
really got into the cooking. Man,
Yeah.
I mean, this is obviously taken off for you, because Rory, tell us about your recipe cookbook.
Yes. So starting in January, I set on a mission to bring a cookbook out because I put a lot of nice food on my stories. I have a lot of people saying, how do you make this? How do you make that? And I just thought if I could put all of that into one sort of book and sell it to everybody, it gives them a great idea. There's so many recipes to choose from. So the whole idea of my book, I put out 45 recipes. Basically, I'd say at least 40 of them are low calorie, high protein. Then there's a few just nice snacks in there as well that you can make from scratch. And the whole idea of it was to sort of promote there is no good or bad food. There is nutrient dense foods. There is micro dense foods, etc. But if you're able to fit these foods, like some of them foods, there's like beef loaded tacos, there's bacon and cheese fries, there's a double zinger burger, there's cheese. Like if I'm just rhyming that off to someone, they're like, well, you can't lose weight doing that way. And I'm like, you definitely can. So it's just to give people ideas, because nobody wants to eat chicken, rice, and veg every day. It is the most boring thing in the world. And I know there is people that actually like it, and you can definitely make chicken, rice, and veg nice with it. There's things called seasoning out there, which people seem to not realize that you can make your food nice with. So yeah, I only learned to cook 2 years ago, and bringing out a recipe book was a really big thing for me. It was actually probably, I played for United. I've done all these things in my life. It was a really proud moment for me, just because I learned the skill within 2 years. People might say that's a long time, but for me, for someone, I wasn't really consistent with it, because in America I was eating takeouts all the time. It was nothing like I was cooking much. So being able to bring that recipe book out, which has helped thousands of people, and I've got really good feedback off it, was a really, really proud moment for me, because at the end of the day, I've grew up thinking you've had to eat chicken, rice, and veg. So if I can put out all the content out now, nice and free for people to access through Instagram, through my ebook, etc., and I can just help one person per day, then I'm more than happy with that.
And Rory, if people wanted to actually get access to this incredible ebook of yours, where can they actually find them, man?
Yes, so my Instagram is Croskery Fitness, and if you click the link in my bio, you will see it's there right in front of you. Just click the purchase ebook. Until I'm going to keep it on for probably another month. There's a 50% sale on it at the minute. So if you grab it now within the next month, you'll get it 50% off.
Okay, that's awesome. I'll definitely post I'll post your social links in the show notes as well, Rory. But Rory, you come across as a real confident guy, and confidence, it's so important. Like just in every area of life. And I speak to a lot of kind of maybe members every single day, and in certain areas they might struggle with confidence. Like it might just be in the gym. I've tried XYZ program before. It's okay for him, it's okay for her, but it doesn't work for me because insert story. But also like confidence in terms of, like, let's just say career, Rory. I often hear people say the promotion was there at work, but I didn't go for that. I didn't have the confidence to go for it. Or even like just kind of self-sabotaging, where you were kind of telling ourselves we're not good enough, or confident socializing with our friends where we're kind of conscious of how we look in our clothes and so on. So Rory, let's just maybe talk a bit more about mindset now. Like for someone who's out there listening, who does somewhat lack confidence, like what would you say to him or to her? Sorry, we go there again. I think we might have lost
I think we're
connection.
grand now. Did that just go off there? Did it?
Yeah, no, we're all good. So I was just saying there, Rory, for someone out there listening who might lack confidence, whether that might be in the gym and doesn't even want to train in the gym, or confidence in their program, or just socializing with their friends, or going for a promotion at work, like what would you say to him or to her? I know it's kind of an open-ended question, but just some
Yeah.
general kind of feedback, Rory.
No, yeah, no, and I always we spoke about this obviously before we come on the podcast, and I was sort of thinking on it, and what could I say that could help that one person? Because at the end of the day, I'm not no motivation guru. Like, I'm not someone who's trying to help people. I'm just, in general terms, obviously, when most people drop body fat and get into shape, they sort of glad it will bring confidence with them. But I would also say, I think I touched on it earlier, if you're scared to step foot in the gym, there's a few tips you can always use, like bringing a partner with you, bringing a friend, or even hiring a personal trainer in the gym, like an on the floor personal trainer, to give you that sort of
100%.
confidence to go on your own. But I would say, is I definitely touched on this earlier, was people are so caught up in their own stuff that they're generally not worrying about you, and they don't even notice you. And it's not a dig thinking you're not special, you're not important. It's just that people are actually so caught up in yourself. Like, people don't realize there's so many people have the same feelings as them. There's millions and millions of people in this world. So if you're not confident, there could be a guy in the gym with massive arms, built like absolute Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he could be so unconfident,
Secure.
insecure, just doesn't feel confident in himself. So it's just, I think the one thing that has to happen with your life, and it's always tough at the start because it's sort of biting the bullet and getting the first sort of stage done, but it's going to come back to the word consistency again. It's like with us, probably, I'm sure you're the same yourself. When we first started videoing and taking videos of yourself on
Oh,
social media, I absolutely hated it. I look back at my videos and I cringe, but I also laugh because it's nice to see how far you come. So just think of the long-term picture when you're not confident enough to step the foot in that gym. And the first day you do it, you start to build these lifestyle habits that builds momentum into your life. So 3, 4, maybe even 2 years down the line, you can look back at yourself and think, I'm really glad I made it that day in the gym. It changed my life forever.
Oh man, Rory, I literally remember, I don't have the date off to a T, but I remember when I first started like my Instagram fitness page. This was
Yeah.
like maybe 4 years ago now. Honestly, I had it saved as a draft for so freaking long. It's like postage, save as draft, postage, save as draft. I remember when I officially pressed the publish button, I just had to knock the phone off and turn it off and just get out of the house for like an hour,
Yeah.
because confidence, because, and even like talking on video, doing my very first podcast, I'm only a couple
Yeah.
in at this stage. This is like the 10th or 11th interview.
Yeah.
Man, confidence, it comes from saying what. So say you're going to do something and actually do it, but you build confidence, like Anthony, through repetition.
Yeah.
And you don't just become a pro athlete like you at United the first time
Yeah.
you kick a ball, but then as your left foot and your right foot starts to develop, that builds confidence. Just like in the gym, my very first workout, when I saw a bit of a vein in my right bicep that I never saw before, that built a bit of confidence.
Yeah.
And confidence just comes from doing it consistently. And just another thing I loved what you said was like, no one gives an shit really about you. And there's a great quote. It's like, at age 20 we worry about what everyone thinks of us. At age 40 we stop caring what everyone thinks of us. At age 60 we realize no one was really thinking about us in the first place. So
Yeah.
it's just a case of being your own biggest hero and
Yeah.
doing what you want to do, man. I absolutely love that, Rory.
Yeah.
So such a great way to kind of round things off. Just one other thing we might touch on, Rory, um, is that kind of all or nothing mindset which you spoke about. But on a side note to this, I'm not sure if you hear it, but I often hear that, like, when people say, I'm going to start my gym plan, but I'm going to wait until insert perfect time.
Yeah.
So we'll say I have a holiday coming up in 3 weeks, so I don't want to do anything now. I'm going to start in 5 weeks time. Like, what are your kind of thoughts on, we'll say, waiting for the quote unquote perfect time to start?
Yeah, that's a great question. I just generally think in life you have to realize there's never going to be a perfect moment. If you put it back a week, you're just a week behind. If you put it 2 weeks away, you're just 2 weeks behind of what you could have been. So when you realize you're further on and further on, you're like, I could have done this a long time ago and actually got better results, and I could have been further on in my life. So like I say, with everything, it's just biting the bullet, believing in yourself, even if you don't believe in yourself, just build that sort of confidence to do the first thing, take the first step, even write it down. Something I love to do is, and I've only started doing it within the last month, is writing down what I'm going to do this week, writing goals down, having goals short term, long term. It's something I didn't believe in because I was arrogant to it. I was like, nah, I don't need them there. But now it actually gives you something to work for, bigger picture thoughts, bigger picture mentality, and then appreciate them small wins as it comes. So there's never going to be a right time to start. There's never a right time to start a diet. There's never a right time to start a gym plan, because a day is just a day. It doesn't matter if it's Monday through to Sunday. You're still waking up and going to bed the same night. So just do it and believe in yourself.
Compared to what? Like, okay, I'm not going to start for 3 weeks, but compared to doing nothing at all, like who's going to,
Yeah.
And what my whole approach is, like, the harder the season you're about to enter, like suppose, okay, let's just say it's November time. And we all know I'm going to wait till after Christmas, and then, after Christmas, it might be, I don't know, whatever, like Valentine's, and then you got Easter and so on. The harder the season you're about to enter, if you can actually get through that, the more confidence, coming back to that key word, you will build, because you know that no matter what situation you're thrown with, whether it's a holiday away, a vacation, a staycation, Christmas, birthday party, etc., if you can get through that and maybe you adjust the dial slightly, that's how you make a lifestyle change, and you make it sustainable, because life, as we know, Rory, it never really is perfect. There's always things that are coming up.
Never.
So you spoke there, and I love, like, we'll say, journaling, writing down your goals. Tell me, Rory, you're doing a bit of a cut now for the summertime. So tell us, like, what does kind of training, nutrition look like for you at the moment?
Yes, so obviously I hired a coach again. I was sort of doing it on my own, but like I was saying, and you touched on it yourself there, is throughout Christmas, I was like, I'm going to start after Christmas. And I had that mindset there where I was just sort of in a rut because I got injured. Life wasn't sort of like, all the coaching stuff was good and I focused on it, but I wasn't really putting myself in a good perspective. So I was focusing on my clients, smashing it with my business, but then actually in my own personal goals and my body and my nutrition, everything was gone out the window. So I had to find that balance, like we spoke about again, in terms of getting myself fit. Because when I'm fitter and when I'm in better shape, everything else is better. My mindset's better, my
100%.
productivity's better. Like, you just feel good within yourself and you want to get more stuff done. So I've hired a coach again. My main goal is body fat, to drop body fat, and I'm doing a 3-month block, so around a 12-week block now. In terms of nutrition, I'm sitting around 2,100 calories, and I will definitely do, like I do with my clients, is have somewhat balance. Usually, and the one thing I always say is I promote balance, but there's also overbalance that I like to say as well. Like, I never just say, right, let's just have a balanced approach here. I always say, let's have an 80-20 or a 90-10 approach of balance. Because if you have a 50-50, some of them days you end up going down the downward spiral of just eating over like processed foods, chocolate crisps and stuff, and you're not getting the nutrients into your body. You feel like crap, and then you just keep picking because you feel like you've gone off track that day. So I always say, and I do it myself, I'm going for a 90-10 approach this time. I'm going to go for 90 nutritious, because I feel like if I over snack, then I'll just continue snacking, and that's my own personal way of dealing with stuff. So I feel like, find the right approach for you. My right approach is 90% whole nutritious foods, 10% still enjoying them foods that I love, and it's going to give me sustainability and balance within this 12-week block. And then in terms of the training program, it's sort of like a mix, mainly what do you call it, like strength training in the gym and stuff, but I'm also doing a bit of cardio, not for fat loss, just for general and heart health. I love to do cardio. I've been a footballer my whole life, so I always want to have some sort of cardio as well. So it's just a nice balanced program to suit my needs, which hopefully is going to help me get sort of to my desired goals before holidays, and then I can sort of bring my calories back up to maintenance and just enjoy life again.
Yeah, man, 2,100. That's not too pretty, man. But sustainability, and you're doing it in such a way that it's 90-10, which, as you said, is sustainable for you. And I love that whole approach. Like, look, you're someone now you're definitely in a deficit, but you seem like so energetic, so like just happy with the process itself. And if you can include foods that you enjoy in the process, you understand that, this doesn't have to be boring. Mm-hmm. And this is actually something that we can adhere to, we can drop body fat from, but actually enjoy it too, because you gotta look forward to it. If you're enjoying your training, you mentioned you spoke with your coach and you told him the exercise you like, and you enjoy doing the running. It's something that, like, mindset plays a big role in this. And when you look forward to showing up every single day, like, that in itself is a win. And then you're just, your results are going to speak for yourself versus, oh, this class, I absolutely hate this class.
Yeah.
that can then kind of spiral away too. Like, of course, no one really enjoys doing rear foot elevated split squats. You have to embrace the suck somewhat.
Yeah.
But
Has to be a bit of graft.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the overall principle, you should be like looking forward for the most part to your session. Man, I love this. I really think this was a great chat. And Rory, just before we finish up, so I just want to acknowledge you. I really love your whole like approach to training and nutrition. You know, having a flexible approach or a balance or even an overly balanced approach, as you were saying, but sustainability. I think that's something we both definitely agree on. Being able to sustain and adhere to this long term. That is how you get results long term. You know, forget about the quick fixes, forget about the short term. Let's try actually build adherence, build enjoyment, build sustainability. So tell me, Rory, before we go, like, what are, we'll say, 1 to 3 takeaways you'd like our listeners to implement?
Yeah. So the one thing I would be, I think my clients actually get sick of me saying this. You'd think I have Tourette's with the word. It's just consistency. If you're looking for anything, whether it's fitness, and I even say this outside of fitness, like I'm not a life coach, but outside of fitness, if you're consistent with anything you do, you will get better. Anybody who learned how to play the piano didn't just wake up and start playing the piano one day. They progressively overloaded, so to speak, on the piano, where they practiced every day and they just continue to practice and practice, and still they find the right notes, they find the right keys, they know how to do their finger movement right. There's anything you do, if you're consistent with this, you're going to get results at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what it is. That would be my main one. I always say my clients think I have Tourette's some of the time because I just say consistency all the time, but it's probably the biggest word in the world for me, because like, what else? It can relate to any subject in life, like no matter what it is. Like I just referenced the piano player, and I'm an online coach, you know what I mean? So there's so many things it can relate to. The second key I would say is to make sure that you understand with nutrition. We touched on it before. There is that there can be overbalance. I always say you want to look at both sides of the spectrum when you're sort of promoting something. And when I promote balance, I also don't promote overbalance. So if you have just say 2,000 calories per day, you don't want to eat 1,800 calories of chocolate, because you're going to be starving. You're going to feel like absolute crap, and you're probably going to go over your calories because it's going to be hard to fit in 200 calories of nutritious food. So make sure you understand that there's balance, but there's also overbalance, so you can get a nice 100%. Sort of feel for the right way you want to do it. And the third one is, it's not a one shoe fits all approach. So if you are doing keto and you enjoy keto, I'm not going to tell you to don't do it, because that's what you enjoy. If you do Slimming World and you enjoy Slimming World, I'm not going to tell you to don't do it. I'm going to say, do what is best for you. Do the right nutrition plan, which is best for you. Do the right gym program, which is best for you, and live the best life that's best for you. Because in terms of obviously setting a step goal as well, 10,000 steps is the pinnacle apparently of fat loss, and everyone goes for it. Don't get me wrong, it's an amazing target. It's really good to increase your energy expenditure. But if you're someone who works on a desk from, just say you have 2 kids, you're up from 6:30 getting your kids ready for school, drop them into school at 8 o'clock, you work in the desk till 5, home about 6, and you have to get the kids ready for dinner, maybe football training. You're not going to get 10,000 steps.
100%.
Set realistic goals, which is going to help your lifestyle. So if you can only do 2,000 a day now, maybe try to get 3 or 4 small improvements week by week and appreciate them, and they all will lead to that long-term goal.
Wow, man, absolutely love all of those 3 points there. Everything unbelievable, Rory, unbelievable. That this has been awesome, man. Just before we go, I just want to 2 final questions, Rory. I'm kind of big into like routines, and I'm always curious, you know, like in terms of morning routine, what does do you like have a morning routine, or what's the first like 30 to 60 minutes of your typical day look like, Rory?
Yes, man, I'm 100% with you. I need a routine in my life. Like yesterday I went out of routine and everything was all over the place. And it was just one of my family members needed help with something. So I was out of my routine helping them. And then I got home and I was all flustered because I had my day planned out. That's just the way I am. I love having a routine. So basically, like I said earlier, I train early in the morning. So alarm goes off at 6 o'clock. Me and my fiance get ready, go to the gym for maybe 6:15. We get home around 7 o'clock, do the same thing every morning. I make her breakfast while she gets ready for work. Then she'll go to work. I will go for my walk. I have a morning walk every morning, have the same route that I go up, Brian. I'm sure you've seen it in my story. It's a lovely wee sort of
yeah, it looks unreal, man.
Walk. I go for that every day. I come home, I have my breakfast, have a coffee, and then I get right into work on the laptop with clients, with programs, with even learning, listen to podcasts, whatever I want to do. I'll have it planned out in my diary the night before. And then once it hits about 2 to 3 o'clock, then that's me done with work. Because like some people, like I see a lot of coaches and stuff doing, I've done 12 hour, 13 hour work days. I couldn't do that. Why? That doesn't suit my lifestyle, so I would never do that. If I have 2 to 3 hours on the laptop of real consistency, phone goes away and I focus, I get all the work I need to get done, and then I can go and enjoy my day with my family, because I don't want to, once my fiance gets home from work, I don't like having work after that. I like enjoying family time. I'm a big family person. Her family's big, my family's big, so we get the best of both worlds. We go see them and just enjoy life. So that's the main thing, is enjoying it, what you do. Because if you're not, like we say with everything, if you're not going to enjoy what you do and you don't have a routine, it's going to be all over the place. So having a structure and a routine is one of
Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. We're good again, man. We're good again, man.
that's us. That's us.
No, that's us. Just one final question, man. I really love that approach, and I always say, like, I get to do this first. I have to do this. And when you can kind of make that mindset shift of getting to do this and being able to do this versus having to do this, that's kind of how you make it enjoyable, Rory. And this is the Lifestyle Lifters show, and I'm all about, enjoying your lifestyle and finding what works best for you. So, Rory, what's your like definition of just living a successful lifestyle?
Yes, that's a really good question. I like that one. I'd say success to me is waking up in a good mood. Not every day, because look, you're gonna have things that maybe annoy you the night before, but just in general, do you know, when there's no other issues outside of obviously small things which can happen if your fiance annoys you or anything like that. Just waking up in a good mood with no stress. And I think it just comes down to, again, is doing what you love. Like, fair enough, there's people that work office jobs that hate it, but sometimes you have to go through that graft and other. But I think if you really, really hate your job right now, if you're in a 9 to 5 in an office job and you hate it, just keep working on it, but have a plan to get out of it so you can enjoy your life. Because if you're not enjoying your job at the minute, obviously, like I say, you need to grind it out. You need to make money for your family and stuff. But if you've got a backup plan that you really want to do, just go for it. Because at the end of the day, we're all going to die. We're all going to get buried, cremated, whatever we're going to do. So you don't want to live your last days thinking, I should have done this. Just live the way you really feel like you want to. Obviously within limits, because some people have families. Don't just leave your family and move to Spain. But do things that are balanced, but also benefit you. Because I just think, like, life's so short. And I know maybe even if you lived 100, but what is 100 years compared to the whole earth that's ever been? You know what I mean? Just go and enjoy yourself and just really push for what you believe in, and make sure you're in a good circle that's going to help you, bring you up instead of drag you down too.
Wow, man. Yeah, we can definitely honestly relate to so many of these things. Like, look, you're going to be working about 1/3 of your entire life. So that what you're doing for those 8 hours a day is important. And I love the way you said you don't necessarily have to burn the boats. Rory, I was a teacher for 4.5 years, and I didn't just throw the teaching aside, because I didn't hate teaching. There's so many parallels between teaching and coaching. But what I did do was, as you said, have a backup plan. So when I got home in the evening at 3 o'clock, I didn't just sit and watch Netflix. I started studying. I started, trying to educate and better myself. And you can definitely do that. It's what you do in the downtime that's going to determine what you do as your main hustle down the line. It's all consistency, as we say.
It is. It's all
literally with Anthony. Man, this has been an absolutely awesome conversation. Let's just, Roy, just to wrap things up again, tell everyone again now where they can find more about you, what you offer, and of course your recipe cookbook. So you mentioned the Instagram page is the main platform, Rory.
Yeah, the main is Instagram, or Croskery Fitness, and I also have a TikTok platform. It's also our Croskery Fitness, which actually I grew off it as well. That was my first ever socials. One of my friends told me to post my content, and it sort of blew up from there. And then I made an Instagram account, and it just started spiraling. So TikTok started me off very well. It's not too good at the minute. It's a crazy app with algorithms all over the place and stuff like that there. But TikTok's my main source, from kids dancing to being a coach. It's absolutely crazy.
Absolutely. So I'll post those links in the show notes. Rory, thanks so much. This chat really has been phenomenal. I think our listeners will get so many takeaways from it. Rory, thanks again.
Perfect. Thank you very much, mate.